Africa won, Nigeria won. It ended in a draw in Bloemfontein. And the way it is now, Nigeria are technically out of the World Cup. It's so sad. Nigeria has been to the World Cup 6 times. It's so sad. South Africa standing in their way this time, of not progressing into the World Cup. Some people say there's still a chance, but for us on Diary TV, we believe there is no chance for the Nigerian side. Super Eagles, they did well. They came back after going behind in the first half from an own goal from William Troost-Ekong. But Calvin Bassey's effort was not enough to put Nigeria back on track. Right now, South Africa just need a draw, just need a point from one of their last 2 games against Rwanda or Zimbabwe. They play Rwanda in South Africa, they play Zimbabwe away from home. So it is not possible that South Africa won't get a point from the 2 games. And if Nigeria wins their last 2 games against Lesotho and Benin in Uyo, Lesotho will be in Bloemfontein, that same stadium Nigeria played a 1-1 draw. If it's in that stadium, it's not going to, it doesn't still count. It won't be enough. The Super Eagles, no doubt they had a very wonderful game. Although they were jittery from the beginning during the workout of the team, these guys started under pressure. They played as if they hadn't played football in a while. They were so soaked in that pressure. The back pitch, Bloemfontein, slippery. While the players were coming out of the tunnel, everything just started to happen in a funny way. And Didier and Simon slipped while they were coming out of the tunnel. It's a funny thing. You've not got into the pitch that is slippery. You're already falling down in the dressing room, and that is not something good. That was not a good sign. And under 5 minutes, when the game started, Online a tackle that was fair, that was innocuous, that means that was harmless, just put I think he suffered a hamstring injury and it was stretched off. Bright Osai was brought in, and Nigeria, we're struggling to string passes together. We're just kicking the ball to the opponent, and South Africa, made the attack. They made it count. Their first goal, where Nigeria were under pressure, and Troost-Ekong put the ball back in his own end. Any player can do that. So Troost-Ekong was not to be blamed for that, and any player can do that. Any player can put the ball in the back of his own net. He was under pressure. His intention was to clear the ball, but his touch, directed the ball goal, and Stanley Wabali was clearly beaten. Nigeria didn't have any meaningful chance. Even on the half-hour mark, Nigeria still struggled. Moses Simon on the left making a couple of mistakes, although he won some corners. And Nigeria began to gain momentum into the game. He started from a persistent run from Calvin Bassey. Calvin Bassey, running ahead of the ball with Alex Iwobi, who was instrumental in that game, who was, to me, the best player in the Nigerian team. He was instrumental in that game. He put a pass, and the ball somehow fell into the hands of Lukman. Lukman, squared it to Dele Bashiru, made a strong run, and his cross was headed home by Calvin Bassey. Calvin Bassey actually headed the ball on his hand, and there were claims that if there was VAR, the goal would be struck out, but there was no use of VAR in that match. I don't know why. Nigeria leveled the score 1-1. They were in high hopes. So in the second half, the tactical changes. Tolu Arokodare came in for Cyril Dessers, and Tolu immediately had a very golden opportunity in his first real action of the game. He had a golden opportunity. He should have passed, or he thought if he shot the ball across the face of goal, any touch would make the ball go to the back of the net. But Ademola Lookman was not there behind the goalkeeper. So Danny Williams, and it's just so unfortunate that Nigeria couldn't get the goal. There's this South African player that was all over the place. He did so well. He made some vital tackles. He even made a delightful chip in the second half that almost caught Nwabali in no man's land. And he was given the man of the match. His name is Mbokazi, fine player. He made some crucial blocks. Ademola Lookman blocks. Chukwueze trying to dribble past him, on the right wing, and he was there. his tackle, saved the day. He made important clearances too, and there was a time he was on a counter attack, and he saw Nwabali, step off his line, and he did a delightful chip from over 30 yards, and the ball, unfortunately didn't go into the back of the net. It would have been worse for Nigeria. But Nigeria kept on pushing, and Nigeria, both teams had to settle for a draw. It was a game of emotions. Nigeria played with so much emotions. There were some antics on the side on the pitch side in Bloemfontein. The ball boys delaying balls, and South Africans doing what they can do to just frustrate the Nigerian. Overall, it was a good game. It was something fans enjoy, but fans didn't enjoy that part that Nigeria are technically out of this qualifier. They said there's going to be a playoffs, but if you look at the playoffs rankings, all the second place teams, Nigeria is placed 10th ahead of Tanzania, with 11 points. Those teams are from first, second, those teams have 16 points, 15 points. So there's no way Nigeria would level up with that, because we still have 2 more games to play. 2 more games, other countries will have 2 more games to play. So just a draw is okay for other teams to beat Nigeria on the table. So if you say Nigeria is going to meet up with the playoffs, I don't think so, because 9 teams are going to qualify, and we have 9 groups. The playoffs will be a second best placed team with another team from the continent. Remember, the World Cup has 42 teams, and some teams are already qualifying, like the likes of Brazil, Argentina, in Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, in Europe, they just started the qualifiers, and the soccer fiesta is starting in the United States, Canada, and Mexico next year, June, exactly June 10. The World Cup is going to kick off. So Nigeria will not be participating in another World Cup in my own predictions, because when you look at the things from all angles, you wouldn't say South Africa won't get a draw in their last 2 games, and even if Nigeria wins 10-0 in both games, it is not going to happen. So it's so sad for Nigerian football. You don't have to pity these players that have not been to the World Cup before, the likes of Osimhen, the likes of Lukman. They won back-to-back African Player of the Year between them. So Nigeria will have to move on, and AFCON is coming up December in Morocco. It's going to start December the 21st, and Nigeria should focus on building the team and moving ahead with the national team. It's so sad. Chelle did his best, his tactics. He played a 3-5-2 formation from the beginning, and he quickly switched when he took off Captain Trustekong and brought in Bruno Oyemichi, and it was still good. And Nigeria's best player as well in that team, Benjamin Fredericks, that guy, just a little guy in defense, and he's so strong. He muscled his way. He frustrated like Foster. He did all sorts of clearance. He even did some crucial attacks. He made the moves, and but unfortunately, Nigeria still bowed down to out of the World Cup. Still bowed out of the World Cup, and it's so sad. So let's look at the group now. South Africa, they have 17 points from 8 matches played. They top the group, and just a draw will ensure their passage into the competition. Nigeria placed second, 11 points on goals difference with Rwanda. On goals difference with Benin, and Rwanda earlier had beaten Zimbabwe by 1-0. So Nigeria are second, while Benin, who have 0 goal difference, are third, but are on the same point with Nigeria, 11 points. So there's still something to play for. Nigeria has to play for pride against Benin. The only game they lost was against Benin, and in Cote d'Ivoire, in one of the early fixtures of this competition. And it's so sad that it is now counting against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And Rwanda, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe are other teams at the bottom with 11, 6, and 4 points respectively. So what would Nigeria be doing now? Nigeria will have to play Lesotho. First leg, Nigeria drew Lesotho, and here they have to travel to Lesotho. And that's the same Bloemfontein stadium that they played South Africa. They're going to play their penultimate game against Lesotho back in October, and days later they'll play Benin in Uyo, or it's going to be academic, let's put it that way, and we'll see how the Nigerian national team, the NFF, the Nigerian Football Federation, how they are going to progress from there when they are trying to put everything back together. Will Chelle be sent away, or will some players be sacked? Or I don't think any player should be sacked, because this team is the best that we can produce for now. So Osimhen got injured in the first leg and he couldn't make it down to the second leg, but even if Osimhen had played the second leg, it would have been difficult for him to score as well, because the chances were few and far between, and Nigeria still managed to scrape out with a draw. So as it is now, Nigeria are technically out of the World Cup. This is Diary TV. We told you we were going to be in Uyo, and we're in Uyo, but we couldn't go to Bloemfontein because you know the reason why. So we promise you the next match day in Uyo against Benin. That's the last game. Diary TV, hopefully we're going to be there. Please, thank you for viewing our pages. Thank you for liking. Thank you for making comments. South Africa, congratulations to you. We hope you make Africa proud at the World Cup. You didn't have the depth of squad like the Nigerian team, and you qualified for the World Cup. Congrats, you go bros, putting the home-based players, most of the home-based players together to qualify for the World Cup. And it's a good thing for South Africa to come back to the World Cup after hosting the 2010 World Cup. They are now back in the World Cup. They will be participating with other teams at the World Cup. Congratulations. And so as I leave with you now, please try, like, comment, subscribe, and please let us know your opinions, because the opinions will be fresh in your mind now. Everybody's emotional in Nigeria, and the opinions will be fresh in your minds now. We'll take your opinions, we'll take your responses. I have to keep it locked down on Diary TV. Bye.